You are listening to episode 1 of Redbay Chronicles with me, your host, Sgt Redbay. Today we are diving into who am I? Who is Sgt Redbay? This is our episode 1 officially, our first podcast, our first episode. We did an episode 0 yesterday, and before anybody goes anywhere, let's get this right out of the gate right now. I need to address this, okay? We filmed our first episode, and I uploaded a few clips of that. It is insane. I am already receiving angry messages, unsubscriptions on YouTube, dislikes on the videos, which is insane. Okay, for those of you that may be new here or new to me, I've been pushing gaming content with Call of Duty Warzone, mainly on YouTube, videos, streams, shorts, all of it for the last year and a half, 2 years almost now. And great success, thousands of subs, millions of views. Here's what I have to say, okay? Like I said in the last podcast, if all I'm doing is gaming, I'm doing myself and the world around me a disservice. I have more to offer the world than just that. So here's the deal. If you are here on the channel, YouTube, whatever it is, solely for the dopamine fix of Warzone and gaming, if you're one of the people unsubbing instantly, dropping dislikes and angry messages, just leave. Okay, that's totally fine. There's thousands of gaming channels out there. We are going to continue to push gaming content, okay? But we are going to be branching out, doing all and everything Redbay in my life, fitness, travel, experience, and hopefully bettering your life along the way. So that's my message to the crazy amount of dislikes I'm getting, which is insane. If that's you, we're actually going to be doing a podcast, maybe next episode, on the hijacked dopamine response that gaming especially has on our minds. And if you are so fixated, let's say with the Redbay YouTube channel, on the dopamine hit that a Warzone, Call of Duty clip or stream or video is giving you, and you're that asphyxiated to it to where you do not want to even be a part of a conversation or anything else, if you're only here for that and not, I guess, the Redbay community and our mission that you are a part of, then you need to check yourself genuinely. I think I'm going to make a whole podcast on that, possibly next episode, because it is a huge topic of conversation. There's a lot more to the world than just your dopamine fix. And I would implore anybody that's under that umbrella, that's maybe disliking this content right now, to explore that and examine yourself a little bit. Okay, it's not a diss on anybody. Okay, it's actually, I mean, let's save it for the next episode, right? When we really dive into it. But it's become a problem in society, the dopamine fixation, the short form content, the TikTok brain rot. Okay, and I really want to dive into that because I am not a huge proponent of that. Right. But without further ado, let's dive into today's topic of discussion. Who is Redbay? Who is Sgt Redbay? Well, that's me. Let's start with this. This is going to be the most authentic, I dare to say, impromptu podcast that you're ever going to get. I may have a theme, maybe a couple bullet points I want to hit on, but I'm not going to sit here and write a script and read you guys the script. This is right off the top of the head. I'm just speaking from the heart. And hopefully you can connect to it in some way and it betters your life in some way. So if it does, or if you have any questions, needs for clarification, please let me know in the comments. Also, sorry, before we dive into things, we are officially on Spotify. We have an official podcast, the Redbay Chronicles podcast, over on Spotify. Link should be down below, or just go to Spotify and search that. Otherwise, YouTube is our home, of course. We still stream here. Long form videos for the podcast, for travels, for everything. Shorts going up every day. We're still pushing daily content for everything. Gaming, the podcast. Oh, we're doing podcast clips, highlights and stuff. So it's all there. It's all there. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, my name is Sgt Redbay. Let's dive into, again, today's topic of conversation. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of who I am, who is Sgt Redbay. I'm not going to dive into the intricacies of my life and some bigger topics that we really should dive into, that I want to dive into, but that's going to be a conversation, I think, maybe once we get our podcast studio set up. Now we have what I call the Redbay headquarters here, But for those of you that are only listening and not watching the video, I'm at my home currently. I'm in Indiana. We're going to dive into that a little bit. But my goal is to kit out my truck with an RV and a podcast studio and bring this podcast around the country, around the states, around the world, wherever I can drive to. And I think once we're a little bit more solidified and have the flow and the professionalism of everything, we're really going to sit down and dive into more of those fine details of maybe some things that went on in my childhood, some stories from the military, and my mission today. So as for today, let's dive into it. We're going to go over, and again, maybe I'm going to miss stuff here, but I'm going to give you a brief overview. Some of you have been following me for a year, 2 years, kind of know a bit of my story, but we're just going to start with a brief overview from the beginning. My name is Brad. I don't know where to split from the people know me as Redbay or Sgt Redbay is my online persona, but my real name is Brad. I don't know when I'm going to dive into being me and not Redbay, but maybe we start that now. You call me whatever you want to. I don't care. I know who I am. All right. Let's kind of start from the beginning, kind of give you a brief overview. If I went through everything, this would be a 400-hour podcast. We're not going to do that. We're going to start these podcasts a little bit shorter, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe if I'm really just diving and flowing, it's 20, 30 minutes, 40. I'd love to get up to where we're doing an hour plus, couple hours, 3-4 hours with a guest maybe. All right. But let's give you a brief overview. All right. Born and raised in the Midwest, United States, Indiana, I think Chicago area. Got some family from here, Ohio. So all kind of the Midwest. And we didn't travel much as when I was a kid. A couple vacations here or there, go out of town, go out of state, but nothing too crazy. Just kind of born and raised in Cornfield, Indiana, I like to say. Literally where I was raised, surrounded by cornfields, soybean fields. That's what the Midwest is known for. And loved school as a kid, man. Absolutely loved school as a kid. Absolutely great. Grew up with a loving family, loving parents, sister. And it was, the American dream, if you will. At least from the kid's perspective, from my perspective as a child, it was. I didn't know of any of the struggles, that my parents went through as a kid, which is how it should be, right? That's not a kid's responsibility to even be informed or understanding of that. But regardless, I was born in 1995, so I'm 29 now. So you can imagine being a kid growing up, late 90s, early 2000s. There's no high-speed internet, no cell phones. That kind of again goes back to what I was saying about this whole dopamine fixation on short form content and TikTok brain rot. None of that really existed. It was just wholesome human connection. And I'm hoping to bring again, a lot of that with the podcast here. So thank you for being a part of this journey. And that was my childhood growing up. We weren't rich by any means. We weren't poor by any means. I guess defining rich and poor are two different things. We didn't have millions in the bank, but we had a roof over our heads and a loving home. And I loved school. I was great in school and had good friends. And it was fantastic. I think I'm diving a little too much. Brief overview here. Okay. We're going to dive into this again down the line. I'm talking deep dive into all of this. But, because I want you guys to get to know me. I want to get to know you guys. And it's all about sharing our stories and experiences and relating and learning from one another. And that's where I can benefit and grow, is learning from you guys. And that's why I want to share my story in the first place. Is so hopefully you gain something from any of this, right? And maybe that's a way to better yourself or to better your, something you can pass on to your friends, your children, whatever it is, wherever you are in life, or as you grow through your school and adolescent years, if you're younger. That's the whole idea. All right. But regardless, that was school. School was good. Brief overview here. Okay, let's keep going here. High school went great. I was always, it's pros and cons to everything. Stuff went great. Stuff went terribly. But that's true for anybody, right? I was always good in school, man. Very book smart. Most semesters, it was a debate whether I was getting an A or an A plus in my classes, right? After high school, let's fast forward here. Straight out of high school, I enlisted into the Marine Corps. So I went into the Marines, went into the military. Again, always super book smart. I actually wanted to go to school to be an architect. Was my original plan when I was like a high school junior, senior. The military called to me, and again, we're going to dive into, I keep repeating myself, but the whole military story is a beautiful story. That's was the best thing I ever did in my life. But scored like a 90 plus or something on the ASVAB. That's the military knowledge test, I guess you take when you're going into the military. And I scored near perfect, or maybe, I don't even know. It was 90 something. Maybe it's changed since then. It was like a 98 or something. Recruiter was like, I've never seen a score that high. I've always been good in school. I've always been prideful in myself for being able to be, I guess, intelligent. I'm not some scholar out here, but I can articulate myself. So there we go. Reading, I try to read as much as I can. I need to read more, but reading, trust me, is something we all need to do a little bit more. Podcasts are a great alternative if you don't like flipping pages, just like what you're listening to now, or audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I'll throw an audiobook in if I'm on hitting the Stairmaster or going for a jog, put some headphones in. It's not just flipping paper pages. It's about digesting content, expanding your horizons. Okay. So you can do that in many, many different ways. And I love podcasts. I love audiobooks. Maybe that's why I'm passionate about this. Regardless, I went in the military, went in the Marine Corps, was in that for a few years. And when I was discharged, I was in a crossroads. Okay. And I'm skipping over a lot, but we'll dive into it later. I was at a crossroads because my military chapter was concluding and I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I was trying to reflect on, I loved the military. Now there were extreme challenges I had in it that I was faced with, but I loved the military, but was striking me was the selfish people in the military. Come to find out, spoiler alert in life, there are selfish people in every facet you will explore, every profession, every place you could possibly live. It is unfortunately human nature, and not everybody has the same moral compass that you or I may have. So it wasn't exclusive to the military, of course, but the military is no exception, was riddled with selfish people. So I said, what makes me the way I am to try to care about more than just myself, to care about those around me? And every time I thought of this and reflected on it, I kept calling back to my elementary teachers is actually what it was as I was a kid going through school. And of course, junior, middle, high school teachers, yes, but just so many formative years from kindergarten up to, 5th, 6th grade before you enter middle school. And that really called to me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get out of the service and I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get my teaching license, my teaching degree, and become an elementary teacher, because I had great role models as a child, and I want to be that for the youth of tomorrow, because not everybody gets that role model. I was so blessed. You take it for granted when you're 8, 9 years old because you don't know anything else. If you're in an environment with supportive role models like that, not everybody gets that. A lot of people don't. So I said, let me be a part of that effort. Okay. You as an individual will never change the world by yourself, but you can do your part. Okay. So that's exactly what I did. I went to college. I got my degree. I got my teaching degree, my bachelor's in education. And, but it was an interesting path of how that happened. So when I got out of the military, within less than 2 weeks, I was substitute teaching. My very first classroom was a 5th grade classroom. I moved back to Indiana. Let me start with that. So after the military, I moved back to Indiana. Okay. Still had family around here. I was like, let me move back over here, help out family. That helps out me while I can focus on school and not have to worry about getting a place or an apartment or anything. So I moved back with family, and within 2 weeks, once again, I was in a 5th grade classroom, getting my feet wet in the field of teaching. Okay. You can imagine going from I'm in my young 20s at this point, U.S. Marine, The biggest change within 2 weeks from being a Marine full-time active duty and being in a 5th grade classroom in charge of a group of 20, 30 5th graders was my language, bro. And in 2 weeks, I had to basically say every sentence in my head to myself before I verbally said it out loud to make sure I wasn't dropping all sorts of swear words on these 5th graders. It was just my way of life, man. I mean, you swear like a sailor sort of phrasing, right? It was something, man. But we didn't slip up or anything crazy like that. It was good though. But right off the bat, I'm not wasting time. We get in the classroom, we start substituting, starting getting experience there. At the same time, I'm enrolling in a pretty good college, one of the best in my state for education degrees, and enrolled as soon as I could, and started full time. I think my first semester was 18 or 21 credit hours. I just started going, man. I said, I'm gonna knock out this degree. Let's get in the classroom. Let's get after it. So I did that. I was teaching, and then I was also working a part-time job actually with Disney, which is pretty cool. So side note, and I'd love to die. Oh, we got to do an episode on Disney. I got to write this down. But I love Disney, and I'm officially a cast member. That's what they call their employees. No, I wasn't friends with Mickey Mouse or anything. If you catch me, you know what I'm talking about. I worked more of the retail side of stuff, right? But so much fun. Probably the most fun job I ever had. If you're a Disney fan, I mean, hey, let's go. You know what I mean? But I was going full throttle, man. You get the, I mean, I'm time and a half in college. I'm teaching on my days off from classes in college. I'm part-time in the evenings working with Disney. And then I actually, at one point, I was working 3 jobs. I picked up a 3rd job at a gym. I was working like customer service at a gym or member support, whatever it is. Because during all this, man, I'm still training full time as an athlete. I'm in the gym all day, most days, if not once, twice a day. Marathon training. I've ran several marathons. This is a whole other subject. I got to write that down too for another podcast. But I'm training full time athletics. I'm in college time and a half. I'm working three jobs. I'm just getting after it, man. And let's keep moving. A brief overview here. About a year or 2 years into college, it was my second year. I'm in class, and we also need to do another subject on the Americanized education system. You don't need to go to college for a degree, except for a few things, to be a doctor, right? Some things like that. You don't need to go get a business degree to run a business. Can it help? Can you put tools in your tool belt? Absolutely, you can. You don't need a philosophy degree or an art degree. It's a whole other subject. My point is, I'm 2 years into this degree, and I'm sitting in a math class, actually, is what it was. And again, I was always good in school, right? Top grades, top 10% of my class, all that fun stuff. And I even took advanced calculus classes in high school, and there were some struggles with it, sure, but I got after it, got an A in it. But I'm sitting in the second level college math class, mind you, to get my degree in elementary education. And there is some way over the top of my head math subjects and concepts we're diving into. I couldn't even tell you if my life depended on it, what it was. But this stuff was involved, and it was starting to frustrate me. I'm not wrapping my head around it. Like, this is some advanced level math. I'm like, why is this in an elementary level course? It blew my mind. Like, a teacher needs to know their stuff, sure, but this is well above advanced calculus. And I'm talking about, I'm going to be teaching 3rd graders, 5th graders, stuff about like Roman numerals and your fundamentals and order of operations of math, things like that. Not this crazy advanced stuff. I stuck with it for a while. And about the same time, I had a friend who was in law enforcement. He was a police officer. And I was looking at what he was doing, and he's like, man, he was talking about a certain agency and said, man, this agency needs good officers. We need more numbers. And this is a whole other deep dive we'll go into another time, but I started looking to the realm of law enforcement. Again, U.S. Marine background. I'm out of the service. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm working out full time, running marathons, still getting up at 04:30, lacing up the running shoes, going to run 12 miles before I go teach in a classroom, before I go to do my homework or go to a night class in college, and then go work my part-time shift at the gym, whatever. I'm going, man, and I'm still doing the Marine Corps shit. So I'm like, all right, maybe I look at this at law enforcement, because my thinking was, man, this is, oh gosh, this is probably 2018 at the time. Yeah, about that time, 2017, somewhere in there, 2019. And I mean, in this day and age, you don't have to be sitting in a classroom to get your degree. So many online options, virtual classes, online meetings, pros and cons to all of it. But again, I said, maybe I finish my degree online and go work full time for this police department. I mean, dude, I've got the mindset, the skill set, the resume, the work ethic, the brain on, on my shoulders here. I can go down to the police academy for a few months, whatever it is, rip that out, which I did. Absolutely kicked ass, was top of the class again in numerous things. I mean, I'm just saying, dude, that's me. That's just, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So my dad said when I was a young kid, if I'm going to do something, you're going to do it. You're going to do it right. And you're going to be the absolute best you can be at it. Okay. And this was, again, at the same time, I'm sitting in this math class and in a college classroom thinking, the heck are we doing this stuff for, man? It's a waste of my time. Literally, at the end of the day, it's a waste of my time. I'm never going to use this. I'd love to expand my knowledge again, but I'm not going to use this for anything practical. I'm just not. Unless you're a math expert, I'm not doing it. So that day, then and there, I decided I'm not going to waste my time. I unenrolled from college, never showed up to another class, transferred all my credits to an online school. At the same time, I'm applying with the police department, still working my part-time jobs, went through the interview processes, polygraph, lie detector test, fitness test, written test, all of it, kicked ass and everything. First go around, they liked me. I obviously said something they liked because they offered me the job, and started a full-time career in law enforcement. Never thought I'd be a police officer. Again, go back to high school. I thought I was going to be an architect. Ended up going to the Marine Corps. I never thought I'd be in the military. First in my line, that sort of thing. And just like that, a few months go by, go through all the processing. I'm making a full-time salary with the police department. So I quit my part-time jobs, obviously by that point, and I'm doing all my schooling online, 100% of that, transfer my credit hours, and I just knock out the rest of my degree. I did graduate, got my bachelor's in education again. Knocked that out. So we got my degree. At this time, I'm probably a year or two into law enforcement, and like I said, I'm working full time. We're worked crazy. I worked for a big city, big agency, a lot of crime, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of shootings, stabbings, everything from those extremes, the pursuits. I've had people try to kill me. It's a long story. We can dive into that. Lots of stories, actually. A lot of good stories too. A lot of great guys I worked with, and a lot of selfish people, once again, just like the military. So it's what you're going to get. It all boils down to leadership. Okay. This is, again, a whole other subject we can go into in another episode of law enforcement, of anything, the military leadership, law enforcement leaders, college leaders, all these paths I've been down. I've had some of the best leaders I would be honored to serve under, and I've had some of the shittiest, spineless leaders that only care about themselves. And to CYA, cover your ass, is what we were taught at my police agency. That's the norm. Do that instead of being proactive. You want to be reactive. The less you do, the less liability you potentially open yourself up to. And you can see where I'm going with this. That was the culture of the police agency. Now, it didn't help at the same time. Again, this is a brief overview. At the same time, law enforcement was being used politically in the United States for political reasons with the elections, Democrat, Republican, a lot of stuff going on in the news, a lot of polarization, the riots, all of that. We had a really shitty mayor who threw our police department under the bus too. It's just like all those different, that's the hand of cards you're dealt, man. And, but I was there for, so I stayed in law enforcement for a little over half a decade, a little over 5 years. and maybe closer to 6. I don't know. Just up to last year in 2024, I resigned for a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to deep dive into it. But basically, I'd seen it all. What the agency had to offer. It was the same. Show up for your shift. It's the same calls, different address, different suspect, different victim, vandalism report, crash report, parking complaint, stabbing, shooting. The same quarterly half-hour firearms training or defensive tactics training that was rushed through. The training of law enforcement's a joke. I mean, I can say that because I did it for years. It's an absolute joke. Law enforcement's so underutilized, so under trained, both in those combatives as well as knowledge-wise. I mean, our ongoing education of the ever-evolving law, which changes every year, was very little. Very surprising, right? Very surprising. And that's just, again, not my mentality, right? Let's rewind. This Marine's full gung-ho. He's working 3 full-time jobs. He's in college time and a half, or 3 part-time jobs, whatever. He's working out full-time, double time. He's running marathons. He's all of it, man. On top of everything else in life that you do, family, relationships, friends, house maintenance. I bought a house during all this. You're a product of your environment. That's the kind of energy I look to surround myself with. And I know there's actually officers that I worked with that watch my content, that probably listen to this podcast, I'd imagine. They're in the gaming live streams, all the stuff we do. Some that I love, some that have come to my streams just to talk shit. And so I'm sure some of them are listening right now. And the reality of it is, this is just the truth of culture. Some people will be mad at that, and some people will understand that. And what's important is to reflect on that and see where you as an individual can improve in those environments, because we're all human, right? There's stuff I did great with it, stuff I didn't do great with it, stuff that I've learned and bettered myself with. But point is, I was not going to continue to sit in that environment. I looked at other police agencies. I looked at other similar paths. Actually applied to a few different agencies and ended up pulling myself last minute. This is, again, I'm diving a little deep into the law enforcement. Today's episode is just about a brief overview of who I am. But it just wasn't right. It wasn't right at the time for me. There were other things I wanted to explore. I said, I just don't want to sit in this patrol car for 20 years or start pushing detective investigations on the same, you finish one vandalism investigation and here's 7 more, right? And there's other niches you can go down with law enforcement, but it takes 10 years to even be available to apply to some of those. It's all subjective. It's all buddy, just like anything else. I just didn't want to push the same monotonous stuff for $65,000 a year. And sell myself short. I have way too much more to offer. That's not my work ethic at all. Not the right environment. So I'm looking for that correct off ramp. This agency isn't, this path isn't it. This is not it. So I ended up resigning. I said, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time here anymore. And that's a bad way to put it, to be fair. Because there's something to be gained from anything, but I wasn't going to be there long term. I decided that for myself personally. So I said, it's time for me to move on to the next chapter. And so I did that. Everything was good to go. And here we are today. So that was last year. I've been working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes, since before that and today. A lot of stuff I've talked about on the content and the channels, and I'm going to talk about here on the podcast, and some stuff I haven't yet because it's still in the works. And a lot of what I do and what I stand for is, I'm going to show you what I've done. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, because I don't operate in definitives like that. Okay. So let's just say there's a lot of business and, workings in the background that I'm very excited to be bringing to my life, to the channel here and the podcast. Whether you're watching or listening or both, Spotify, YouTube, again, we're on them all. So stay tuned for a lot of this that's coming, but there's some cool stuff coming. The stuff I have said that I am working towards is taking the off-road truck, pair it with the RV, set up my rig in there. We can record podcasts. We can travel, bring you on adventures, do survival challenges, go on crazy adventures, meet new people, collaborate, record podcasts with them. You get the entire vibe. So the last year I focused a bit more on following my passion projects with that. Some other business stuff behind the scenes we'll dive into another time. And more importantly, diving into what's most important, my health. With all the fitness, running, athletics, I've ignored a lot of injuries. I sustained a lot of injuries actually from the service. This is a huge other topic that I've ignored for years, physical and mental, that I am very much so excited, looking forward to diving into, because I know I have tools there that I've gone through hell, both physically and mentally, to find a way to shape those tools into a way that you right now listening can put those tools into your tool belt, whether or not you're a veteran from the military. There's a lot that goes unacknowledged and unaddressed with the military. The Marine Corps doesn't teach you a lot of these coping skills. It's just a matter of fact. So that's where I'm going to fill in a lot of those roles. But the last year I've spent more time with physical therapy. I had a bad neck injury years ago. Then a crash in law enforcement didn't help it. Some knee injuries, feet injuries, back injury. There's a lot of stuff going on. Even a wrist injury. Some stuff up in my head, not just the mental health aspect, which is a whole realm we're going to dive down to, but physically some head trauma and stuff we're going to dive into, but stuff I've been focusing more on. Let's get the tools I need to physically and mentally be my best. Let's focus on family. Let's focus on relationships, friends. Let's focus on being whole with oneself, the holistic approach to one's life. And let's summarize with that, okay? Because I could go on and on all day. This has actually been a great episode. It's been a great episode. But that's our mission forward. Let's end on that. One's mission forward, mine included, needs to be, what is your purpose in life? Right? That's very vague, but it needs to be, okay? This goes for all of mankind, especially men. I can speak for men. I've never been a woman, right? But man needs purpose. And a lot of that comes from a biological deep encoding in us of providing for the family, okay? Protecting the wife, providing for the kids, both physically, security-wise, financially, food, whatever. The man provides, and that's purpose, okay? That is coded into your DNA. And man needs that to this day. Now life today, not for everybody in this world, sadly, but especially in America, there's a lot of cushy, soft environments. People get their feelings hurt over the wrong color that somebody chooses. It's bullshit, man. People gotta toughen up, man. People aren't going to survive in this dog-eat-dog world with shit like that. But a lot of people are lacking purpose nowadays. So that's a big part of my push forward in what I do and where I put my energy and capacity is, what is my purpose? And maybe you've concluded a theme in all of this of this guy wants to be in the military, joins the military, becomes a Marine. He goes into teaching to help the youth be their best. Then goes into law enforcement, spends years in that and a career in that, helping others. I mean, why else are you doing this stuff, man? That's what's important to me is what impact am I leaving on other people? Okay, I want to be my best in every shape, way, and form. But what skills and experiences and values do I have that is going to leave an impact on the community around me? That might be my household. That might be my family, my friend circle. It might be a little bigger, my community. It might be my town. It might be my state. It might be my country. It might be the world, the impact you leave. It doesn't matter how big or small, everybody's going to be leaving an impact. That includes you. That includes every singular person watching and listening to this right now. So you have to ask yourself that question. And that ties into every singular thing I do to this day, is being my best self, being my healthiest, and what impact can I help leave on the community around me otherwise. That's why this podcast exists. Again, I hope you take something from this, even one singular piece of information that betters your life. Maybe it just makes you think on something different. Maybe you never considered before. Maybe it's something you end up sharing with a close friend or your child or whatever it may be. So that's a quick, brief overview of me. We're getting after it. We're still being our best physically. We're going to be setting up this Redbay Chronicles podcast, traveling the world. And it's not just going to be the podcast. It's going to be the adventures. We're going to be putting on the GoPros, the cameras, doing extreme challenges out in nature, survival, filming these tactics, collaborating with other military guys, other gamers, other podcasters, you name it. The opportunities are endless. So this is going to be more than just a podcast. It's going to be our life together. It's going to be my adventures and bringing you along this journey and building that community sense. The long-term goal of also what I want to be adding on to this, let's actually conclude on this, is what we call the Redbay Foundation. This is something you are already a part of. The Redbay Foundation is an organization that I'm setting up. It's probably going to be some sort of nonprofit, but I envision a giant facility constructed in nature. I'm talking fitness facility with all the gear, the jiu-jitsu mats, the weights, all of it, the giant American flag hanging in the rafters. And this is the Redbay Foundation. Let's set up some sort of nonprofit. I want a branch of this, probably the main focus to be bridging military veterans with health, fitness, nature, gaming, all of it. Everything that we're talking about here, we're going to have a facility, okay? Think of it up in the mountains, have hiking trails, glistening lakes with pine trees, and just a place you can connect with nature, God, spiritual health, whatever calls you, your physical health, of course, and your mental health. Again, we're going to be diving into that. Let's build cabins that veterans, participants can stay in. We can raise funds through a nonprofit to actually make this happen. And that's a big part of my mission. So if any of that interests you, please simply follow the channels. Even if you're not out here to donate, we just want to build a community of like-minded individuals that want to be their best, build each other up. And that's what we're about. That's what I'm about. That's what Redbay's about, what Brad's about, what Marine Corps veteran Brad is about. If any of that calls you, please follow the channel. My name is Sgt Redbay. This has been episode 1. I could go on and on all day, but let's save it for episode 2. I'm going to try to do this daily. Obviously, it's not going to happen every singular day, but expect regular episodes. Let's wrap up there, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. If you have any ideas of what you want to hear next, let me know in the comments, in the chat, in the stream, on Discord, on X, on YouTube, on Spotify. This has been episode 1. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you guys again very soon.